It's all about the macro productions.
What does the goddamn line say, Tony?
Please do not use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail?
Look, you're going completely sideways, man.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
I'm Chris Hansen with Dave on NBC.
Jack Marius Tack-Theratrix.
Hi, I'm Spartacus.
Jackson, Sacramento, he, him.
Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
This is Muammar Gaddafi.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
We cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
And uncovering the centuries-long plan for world domination.
Learning about Cuba, having some food.
Let's talk about Chinese people.
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? Swangles and Fort Lauderdale?
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow up the Sears hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault. He was a retard. I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you're watching us on Rumble, band.video, now on YouTube, or you're listening wherever podcasts are served, thanks a million. We appreciate your amazing continued support. I hope you've rated the show. Give us 5 stars if you think we've earned it. If you want to connect with me, macroaggressions.io is the website. You can do that there. Thank God we have sponsors. Makes my life easier. We got great ones. Tim James and the crew at Chemical Free Body have been with me since the very beginning. They make supplements that actually work. The detox bundle is life-changing. I've done it twice. You'll have to buy new clothes because your shorts aren't going to fit you anymore. That's okay. If you want something a little different, try the Parasite Cleanse. I did that in December. You know, you never know what's living inside of you, but I'll tell you, Tim and the crew have made these products easy to take. You can just go to the website that they built specifically for us, chemicalfreebody.com/macro. You can see everything that's going on over there. So if you're interested in getting additional help, coaching, things like that, reach out to Tim. Tim James has been on Macroaggressions more than anybody else except me. And he's always got great tips, and he's available for private coaching. So if your health is suffering, it's fixable, right? Here's the good news. You can change it. It's not something that's set in stone. Tim saved his life by changing his diet. He can help you as well. Go to chemicalfreebody.com/macro and check it all out. Also, if you're looking for storable food, you can get the stuff that just comes in the survival bucket for sure. I've got a couple of those. They're great to have. But if you are planning to actually eat the food that will be in your survivor bunker, after the bombs stop dropping, well, you might want to go to Augustin Farms because actually their storable food is fantastic. They have a wide variety. It's actual food that you would eat. It's dehydrated, of course, but it'll last you for 25 years. They have butter, powder, eggs and dairy, fruits and vegetables, meats and proteins. They have baking mixes, and of course, they have a cookbook, which is kind of important when you're talking about dehydrated food. It's great that you've got it. If you don't know how to cook it, it's probably not going to be the best, but they have that taken care of. So if you're in the market and are just curious about what's going on over there, go to augustinfarms.com or augustinfarms.com/macro and check it out for yourself. Well, all right, now that we got the business out of the way, it's my pleasure to welcome to the show the host of The Rice Report, ladies and gentlemen, the great Eric Rice. Eric, where do we start?
I have no idea, Charlie. In this world we're in right now, I mean, the world is bifurcated into 2 camps that are radicalized, that are completely gaslit to defend their perspective, not the perspective. And it's a difficult world to navigate, but man, is there so much going on right now? I'm not really like a news junkie, and I know you're not either. I'm more of a strategist.
Let's talk about precious metals, because you and I've spoken before about our mutual love of Bitcoin. Well, listen, we just don't like the banks, and we like the solutions for that. And when you're thinking about how much you hate the banks, you go, well, what's this gold stuff, right? Oh, that's just, boomer rocks and things like that. Well, I like gold, and I bought gold when I was younger, and I still buy it. I mean, I like that. And silver, I got into silver, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. I really like that. Have no deep understanding. I just like it as a bet against the system. And now Bitcoin comes along, and that's more of a digital bet against the system as well. But we saw recently these wild price spikes with precious metals. Very, very unnatural. I would say, well, maybe the acceleration on the way up, I think a case can be made that that's natural in the sense that they took their foot off the throat of the silver market, in particular, silver and gold, I guess. But then when you see those massive $30 price corrections in silver in one day, you go, that's some manipulation. What did you make of all this when you saw it?
Well, it's interesting. So first and foremost, I'm not an expert on precious metals. And to be honest with you, even the experts aren't experts. Nobody
not
can
anymore,
actually,
they're not.
No. When gold and silver are moving like meme coins, it's something we haven't seen. Now, we've seen it in other instances, Weimar Republic. When you look at the Weimar fall of Weimar into Nazi Germany, you saw the same kind of move. But what I think is really happening, Charlie, is I think people mix these two together, gold and silver being alternative money sources. They're not. Gold is certainly the ultimate hound dog or sniffer of inflation, number one. So that's part of the run-up. The other run-up is debasement. People are seeing currency debasement coming everywhere, and those two go hand in hand, right? Like inflation is debasement in some capacity. So we'll talk about gold in a second. Silver, on the other hand, is the most interesting category because it is completely a commodities play. It is not ever going to be used as money. Gold is not good money either. It literally is a store of value. It does have applications coming in the future. I'll get into that. But silver by itself is used in everything. In fact, I had Dana Samuelson on here on my show the other day. We were talking about this. And apparently there was just a EV battery made that requires a ton of silver, but it's like a 9-minute charge to go 600 miles. If that's true, that's a game changer. Again, if true, that's a game changer. But it's going to require the silver. Now, people think that this has to do with debanking or fighting the system. This has to do with supply and demand. These original repositories like COMEX and things like that, they were created for producers, right? So they held gold in case you needed it for jewelry or whatever. They held silver if you needed it to make things, and it became a speculator's market. It just got bastardized over a period of time. In that speculator market, they started realizing, unless you're a producer, you actually never ask me for the gold or silver. So you've had this massive paper fraud that's been happening forever. People will speculate 300 paper contracts for every ounce of silver, 150 for every ounce of gold. There's just simply not enough supply. And real gold people, not Twitter economists, but real gold people will not deny that. They're like, they don't have enough gold or silver to actually deliver the metal on every contract. So that's certainly a part of it. I think gold is a different story. I think that gold is, number one, sniffs out inflation and currency debasement quickly. So the rise from 2,000 to 4,000 made sense. Up into the 5,600 range, that was a lot of speculation coming in. And I think when we see the drop in the price, I think you're looking at some people like me who've had gold. And so like my first ounce of gold was $400. My first ounces of silver were like $7. Right. So it's the worst investment I've ever made for a decade. Right. That's the thing is everyone's, now they're dancing on the grave of everybody who's not winning in the last 24 hours. Oh, I told you so. It's the worst investment over the last 10 years. Like, it has outpaced the S&P because of this big run, but until then it was dead and it was stable. That's the whole point of gold, is that you're not going to lose value. You're not going to make money with it, but you're not going to lose value. Now you're making tremendous amounts of money. So there's people like me who've been like, okay, I'm at, 20x on silver right now. I'm going to go sell a little bit of it. And thankfully, I have the contacts to do that because I've built relationships with gold and silver guys, and I can do it very cheap, fast, and efficient. Most of the world right now is being stuck with physical silver. There are a lot of guys out there that, as soon as you sell them silver, they're pawning it off to the refiners. The refiners are 4 to 6 weeks behind melting down silver, meaning that in some places you're not getting paid for 3 to 4 weeks if you're getting paid at all. Wow. And they're charging extra premiums like 20-30% that I've heard of. These are coin shops primarily. Okay, they're not actual gold and silver guys. If you go to the gold and silver guys, they're going to buy and sell from you anytime. It might be 5%, but that's better than holding a chunk of metal. You'll actually have some cash and you can go use it in your daily life or buy Bitcoin or whatever you want to do. So, I mean, that market right now is astronomically insane to see gold trading like a meme coin. I mean, it just happened. Like we're filming. What is this? The 4th at 1:00. Silver just dropped $9 in less than 3 minutes on the market. $9. I mean, there's only a handful.
There goes the argument that they used about Bitcoin's volatility being too much for people. It's like, listen, man, I'm watching silver, I'm watching gold act like Doge. You know, this is crazy. This is not sustainable. Obviously, there's some market forces working here. There's some fuckery afoot with paper shorting the market to try and keep it down. You know that the government. So and of course, there's a long track record of the COMEX being a complete disaster of the banks.
It's a fraud system.
It's exactly. It's just a marketplace that's set up to perpetuate commodities fraud, and they've been busted doing it over and over again, and they'll continue to do it. But at some point, I don't know, maybe they can't suppress it, or maybe they have other priorities, or maybe the money printer is needed for something else. I don't know where this eventually goes, but I guess if anything that I'll take as a positive from this, it's that sort of a lot of normies have started to wake up to the fact that, hey, maybe I should have something that isn't necessarily the US dollar. And in the past, I don't remember that ever happening. I don't remember people having those conversations, at least, like your aunt, right, who all of a sudden wants to talk to you about silver, who never talked to you about it for the 15 years that you bought it like a moron, stacking it like diligently. Nobody wanted to know about it then. Now they want to know about it, right? So now when retail gets involved, you start going, ugh, like, I don't know, that's usually the sign to head for the exits. I wonder where this all plays out over the next year. Or is it just, yeah, it spiked like crazy, but and maybe it'll go even higher, but at least I'm not holding dollars, right? I mean, is that the play? Just exit the dollar game however you can, in whatever form you can.
Well, let's look at the setup, right? So I think it's March. Is it March when we get a new Fed chair? This new
I think so.
Kevin Warsh, who's related to Ron Lauder. Ron Lauder is involved in every single Israeli operation known to man. He's also the head of the World Jewish Council and a member of the Bilderberg organization. And
a member of MEGA, the MEGA group, which is a very price
nefarious,
yeah,
very much a New World Order organization. So his son-in-law is now going to be the Fed chair, who pretends to be hawkish, but he's certainly going to be dovish because that's why he was selected. He's going to lower interest rates, I believe. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think that he would lower interest rates 250 to 300 basis points, which will open up the doors for more inflation, of course, which is why gold is running on the news. And ironically, everything dropped when he got announced, which is just totally opposite. Like, you have a guy coming in whose mandate or suggestion, right? Because everything is, it's not, our Fed chair is not political, Charlie, at all. Totally not political.
I heard that once.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of things are coming down the pike for that. But the interesting thing about the normies and metals, or Bitcoin, because Bitcoin will have its run too. The FUD from Epstein files is so nonsensical, has nothing to do with the code. Of course, he corrupted human beings. Like, just understand how code works and how it's immutable. It's pretty simple to see. But when you see this run in gold and silver, when I was talking to Dana, who does, millions of dollars in gold and silver transactions a day, I asked him about his client base, and he said a month ago, it was about 80% sellers. And then silver broke $100 and it became 50-50 sellers and buyers. So retail always gets in when it's too late. That's just the way retail works. But the funny thing is that the when your aunt is asking you, I got this silver, I've had this silver in my safe, or I've got silverware from 200 years ago. Should I sell it? The question you should ask them is sell it for what? Sell it for more dollars that are going to clearly be debased? The only way out of the debt solution is to completely debase the debt, which means you're going to revalue hard assets and go through, a friend of mine, Darkside's been talking about a crack up boom. I'm not an economist, so I don't know if that's the case, but it certainly looks to be the option, the only option available. And at the end of a crack up boom, no one will use the dollar. They will be out of it as fast as humanly possible to get into Bitcoin, gold, or silver for trade. So very interesting time, like from that level. The normie world is fantastic to watch. It used to be frustrating, I'm sure to you, Charlie, like 5 years ago when you're like, hey, all this stuff is happening. And they're like, no, you're crazy. Now they're like, hey, you were right. I just kind of giggle. I don't say I told you so. I think it's a terrible move, by the way. But it is interesting to watch because, like, one of the best examples, maybe we'll get into this, is Nicki Minaj, is like just how how very little discernment the world actually has. Most specifically, Christians have the worst discernment in the world, despite it being in the Bible, like, I don't know, 90 times in the Bible. But discernment is always, if you're thinking, in my opinion, you do what you want with your money. I don't care. It's yours. Gold and silver, I think still have a ways to go. I think that, an $8,000 ounce of gold is certainly not off the table in the next couple of years. I think $150 silver is not off the table. You got to remember, silver has to be used. Car batteries, solar panels, medicine. People forget about, colloidal silver as medicine. Gold also in the future will be used in medicine. Nanoparticles of gold are very good at conducting medicine to a specific part of the body. They'll be used as a conductor, as a delivery system. I've been in labs to see that. And when we look at gold from that perspective and silver from that perspective, one thing I'm pretty sure you and I agree upon, everything we're watching right now in the global geopolitical sphere is nothing more than a distraction for us to not notice that our privacy is completely being eliminated. And that will require currently AI. The next iteration will be quantum that assists. And those chips require 10 to 15% of the metals used in those chips are gold and silver. So these are going to be devoured into the industrial system over a long enough period of time. And I think this might be the last push on this for the next decade, 2 decades. But eventually, digital currency and scarcity in digital environments will actually be the reality of Earth. I don't like it. I actually hate it, but it's an unavoidable reality that we live in.
Yeah, and that's our choice, is how do we play this? How do we navigate this system? Like, how do we got to get honest about what's coming, what the good ones are, what the bad ones are? We've been talking about CBDCs for a long time, but then they knew that we were talking about that, and then the terminology kind of pivoted to stable coins because, listen, it's stable, it's in the name. But those are just as nefarious. They have all sorts of programmability and backdoors, and that's not going to work. So I guess if we don't have a choice but to go into this digital age, then we got to get honest about what's going to be around, what's going to be left standing, what's important to us, right? Like what can be confiscated, how it can be confiscated. How you, not only how do you accumulate any sort of wealth that you have, how do you save it? How do you keep it private? How do you keep it from people figuring out who has it, or the government wanting to track it, or anything like that? I mean, we're getting into a real important time for people to be paying attention to this stuff. And unfortunately, you probably feel the same way I do. And there's not enough people with their eyes open. They've got their heads down in their phones and they're not watching where they're going. And I've like that video that we've all seen of the lady on her phone walking right in the mall, walking right into the fountain. That's where I feel like humanity is on their phone and not paying attention while the money is changing, and while this might be the last bit of privacy that we have.
Well, the question remains, like, what can we do about it? Really nothing, right? Your privacy is already gone. I mean, I can give you examples of, people with HOA organizations. I have 3 of them that were sent to me with a drone footage of something in their yard. Your garbage isn't in the right place. You need to remove that tree. I mean, that's unsolicited. Nobody complained about it. They were just getting these drone drops from HOAs. I've had many conversations near my phone about something or someone that automatically, when I logged into a social media, it's like, hey, have you contacted Bill yet? I haven't talked about Bill in 20 years. Your privacy is already gone. I mean, our privacy doesn't exist. Off-grid living is very hard, very difficult. I do off-grid energy. That's hard enough. Living off-grid, most human beings aren't built for that. So I don't know what we can do about it. But the image I always get is the other guy in New York City who was crossing the street on his phone and got hit by a garbage truck. Like, that's actually probably more accurate than falling in a fountain. We're already in the fountain, Charlie. And the reality is that the garbage truck is coming, and there's not much you can do except keep your head out of your phone, pay attention to the things in your life that are important, faith, family, the important things, and ground yourself in all types of OPSEC. Like, understanding your digital OPSEC is going to be very difficult to maintain. Your home can have tremendous privacy, and you can raise great kids and live a great life. And I actually think, Charlie, that we will see what the Bible prophesies as a false golden age. That's going to happen. That's what a crack-up boom is, right? The money's not worth anything, but your assets are blowing up like crazy. That's a false golden age. And that at the end of that, you have tremendous turmoil. And by that time, the surveillance state will be completely embedded. Whitney Webb, by the way, has been calling all of this out for a decade, and she's just called a Fed all the time, and she may be like, I don't know Whitney Webb.
Oh, she's not a Fed. No, I've known Whitney for years, and she sent me One Nation Under Blackmail the week before it came out to have a good take. I'm like, I need more than a week to read this. It's very dense. It's 2 books that are like, I need a month for each one of them. But
it's like 800 pages.
It's as Catherine Austin Fitts described it, it's an encyclopedia of criminality.
Yeah. 100%.
So yeah, when you read that and when you understand that, and if, the information's there, it's just, are you somebody that's interested in reading those types of books and things like that? If you are, you can see what's happening. You can see the garbage truck coming, right? But if you aren't paying attention and you're just doing what you need to do, we're busy. You got to get the kids to school, and you got to get to work, and you got to get to the grocery store, and and all these, and life happens, right? And that's reasonable. But where is the line where it becomes your duty and obligation to be paying attention a little bit more closely than most people are right now?
Well, I think that's always been our duty and obligation. I'm very spiritual, I hate the word religious, because I don't believe in religion. I believe in Jesus Christ, and religions have polluted the name of Jesus Christ over the years. But I do believe that spiritually we should be awakening, and we should be noticing the things that are happening right now, which I think we're probably going to get into because we talked about it off camera on my show. And it is fascinating to watch history overlay with prophecy in perfect timing, and not in the way you're told, right? There is no mention of a third temple in any version of the Bible, guys. It doesn't exist. But when you look at the things like this, we should always be awake to this. Privacy. The old normie saying was, well, I don't do anything wrong. I don't care. Well, that won't even matter to people until it does, until pre-crime becomes an actual thing. And when Palantir's technology picks up that you liked a few things on Twitter that you thought were private, that go against the social norm, and you start getting warnings about it, that's when you'll actually start to pay attention, and then it's too late. So what should we all be doing? Like, OPSEC is important. I run a podcast on one computer. I have another computer for my business. I don't connect anything to my phone. I have 2 phones, one that I never use because it's there in case the other one fails. The one that I use all the time is just friends, family, personal stuff, digging on the internet, Twitter, things like that. And then I keep my Bitcoin completely separate from everything else, completely air-gapped as much as humanly possible. And you just protect what you have, because at the end of the day, Charlie, like we always talk about this stuff, it's already here. Like the surveillance state isn't coming. It's here. They're just telling you about it now, just like every other technology, just like Palantir. I put a post out today. Like, Whitney put out a great video saying they don't need Epstein anymore for blackmail. They have Palantir. They will monitor everything. She's exactly right. And the trick about this is that the original version of Palantir, before it went to In-Q-Tel to become a nonprofit venture capital firm of the CIA, before it became a private company, nobody wanted it. Like, there was a huge pushback. So how do they manipulate and social engineer the masses? It's pretty simple. You make it a private company. It's not the government. They can do what they want. I totally get that. But then you take it public. And when you take it public, now you feed on the greed of the masses, who are not only not talking about it or resisting it, they're getting rich from it. And that's how human psyche works. So I don't know what we can do to protect ourselves from a system that understands us better than we understand ourselves. And every time that we talk into a machine, every time we're on a podcast, every time we use Twitter, they are learning more about us than we know about ourselves. So know thyself is probably the first place to go.
I bet there's some guy who runs a financial services company who set up some fund. You know how they set up like the Sin Fund, where it's like all the casinos in Vegas, all the alcohol manufacturers, all the cigarette they probably have one that's like the Psycho Fund. Where it's like Palantir.
It's called BlackRock.
It's called BlackRock. Right? Just taking it. It's like you said. Once you then flip it and make it investable for the general public, they then have a financial stake in the Armageddon, which is really dangerous. I just think that how disgusting is it that you're sitting on your couch hoping your Palantir stock goes up?
Right. While it's actually surveilling you and putting you in a position where if what you believe today becomes taboo in the future, you will be ostracized and potentially prosecuted.
Just reminds me of that meme of the cartoonish meme of the kid in his room and the dad sticking his head in. Are you winning, son? It's like, that's where we are, man. Listen, at least while I'm in my digital prison, my Palantir stock has tripled. So I can use my credits to buy more bugs for my micro apartment.
More stable coins, Charlie, because they're genius, because they came out of the Genius Act, because it's a genius way of manipulating. Like, the devil is so incredibly intelligent. And I also, like the Epstein files, people are like, you digging through them? I'm like, no, I don't have to, because everybody else is sharing the pertinent screenshots. But by the way, let's address a question here on your show. Where is the chain of custody for these files?
I want to know. I want to know where. Yeah.
So until there's a chain of custody and proof that this is actually authentic, it's a psyop. All right. So a psyop doesn't mean it's false at all, but it's certainly being used for a purpose. And that purpose is another, look at what I'll get into that in a few, I guess. We'll talk about that.
I was curious about, we've got one email address. I have multiple email addresses. I'm assuming Epstein had multiple ones as well. Can we check some of those? What else is going on? And I wonder if...
Charlie, are you saying that a guy who clearly worked for certain Mossad, probably CIA, MI6, and every other intelligence agency on Earth, are you telling me that he just myrically used Gmail for everything? That would be incredibly conspiratorial of you.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because there's a lot of, he called Madonna cattle.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny.
She is.
Because she is. But he meant it in like a Goyim sort of way.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting how Goy is now like the top searched word?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Charlie, if you're thinking 5 steps down the road, you're going to see this by the end of this interview. You're going to see what I'm seeing right now, and it's so entertaining, and it's God's will coming to life. It's just amazing.
I love it, man. So now, much in the same way that I'm glad that the casual observer is now aware that there are figures like Epstein out there, that these operations happen, because a lot of people just didn't know, right? I hope, though, that once they come to the Epstein files and get interested in the island and the girls and all the blackmail, that will lead them to discover what else he was up to. Because I think what he was up to was, with regard to the transhuman component of this, was so dark and so really probably difficult for people to wrap their heads around, because when you think of him as just being this pervy guy who's paying young girls to give him massages and trafficking them and things like that, you don't magically leap to scientist, guy who's deeply embedded with scientists. But I think that what he was doing in Zorro Ranch and the stuff with the Martin Nowak at Harvard, the evolutionary dynamics and population game theory, I think that stuff, though less tabloidy, way more interesting to me.
That's the meat. The tabloid will be the sex escapades and the children, which, by the way, I'm going to point this out. I know you agree with this. You harm a child, you should be put to death.
Of course.
Period. And if you understand and have done the research on why these people do this to children, it will actually horrify you. And for me, brought me closer to God, just understanding that these people are demonic. They are worshipers of Baal in every sense. And this has been going, by the way, this isn't new. Epstein isn't the first one. He's not the last one. He's certainly not the only one. There still are probably hundreds of Epsteins running around the world without the fanfare. And this has been going on for all of human existence. They sacrifice the innocence of children to demons for earthly power and pleasure. That's the philosophy. That's why it's there. They believe in that deep. You may not be a person of faith, but they are, and they pray to a completely different God.
Yeah, that's the important part. Is that you have to go. It doesn't matter what I think. It's what do they think?
Yeah.
What do I believe? It doesn't matter what I believe. They believe that in doing these things, they are bringing in spirits. They are summoning something. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of what rituals they're performing and what they're doing. I would assume that it is horrible, and from what I've read, it's horrible. It's pretty awful. Yeah. So I could be dismissive of it and go, "Oh, those people with their ideas and their rituals and that, the black robes and all that." But it matters to them. So it should matter to us. We should pay attention to it because there's something there. And if this has been going on, as you say, and as we know, for thousands of years, then there has to be, sort of has to prove that there is a darkness. Simply because if there wasn't, this would have been a story that faded away a long time ago. And since it's still happening, there has to be something to it.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, there is a darkness, which means that there is a light, which means that there is a light bearer, which means that that light bearer called Lucifer loves to counterfeit everything that he possibly can to gain your worship. And we are going to enter into an era that people are very few people are anticipating or even seeing. And it's ironic because I was kind of a lunatic to think this way about 6 months ago. You know, like I went from normie 10 years ago, but like I never stopped looking, right? Like, you know, people stop looking. Oh, it's the Jews. Well, really? Alone? Just them? Just 0.6% of the population of the world? Really? Just them? Okay. And not excluding them, certainly involved. But who are the masters, right? Like where does this come from? Who are the master's master, right? Because there's not a human being on earth that doesn't have a master. Like my master is Jesus Christ. Theirs is clearly Satan. And I say that and people will laugh it off. You can laugh it off all you want. Read their doctrine. Read manuals from these secret societies that have been leaked. This is not a joke to them. They are absolutely more. I had a podcast with Dave Collum, who I love. Dave.
Oh yeah, great. Dave Collum, fantastic.
So he went on another podcast and he was like, "You guys got to talk to this Eric Reichs guy. He's encyclopedic about this stuff." And he's like, "We just get weird, you know, like you and I, we just get weird."
Right.
But we're not being weird. You're weird. If you don't know this stuff, we're trying to educate. And I'm not saying you're weird. I don't want to be a mean guy like that.
I know.
To the audience, like you're not weird. You're actually very sane. But you should understand the insanity to get more sane. But there is this deeply religious aspect behind the evil rulers of this world, whether they're labeled Illuminati, Freemason, Jesuit, Jew, whatever word you want to give them. First of all, they're not bifurcated. They certainly work together. That's been proven through hundreds and hundreds of years. One will take the downfall for the other one to rise, and I believe that we're entering into that. There certainly will be a downfall of one, and a new false light will arise. This is the age of enlightenment. Every other thing that's come here has just drawn human beings more into self and more into vanity and further away from worship of true light. So Charlie, that's where we're at, man. But these guys are deeply, deeply religious. And you can see that in some of the Epstein emails. I'm going to finger quote that because there is no chain of custody and all we have is Gmail. Now, I want to also spawn off an idea or a thought process. A friend of mine posted the email from Deepak Chopra, who was like, God is a construct of man, but little girls are beautiful or something stupid. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I know that the general theory and thesis out there is like, these guys were so brazen. They were saying this stuff on Gmail. When you hear things like that and it's repeated over and over again, think a step further. Think perhaps, maybe, an intern is having fun with you somewhere because there's no chain of custody. Everything is an illusion for us to discern through. There is no finality. There will not be a finality. This constant idea of Donald Trump and his team are going to eliminate the satanic cults that have run the world for 9,000 years is so ludicrous. That's Jesus Christ, by the way. So you're creating a false idol. I said this for a very long time. I'll support anybody who's fighting evil. Don't get me wrong. But is anyone actually fighting evil, Charlie? Like, we're hearing a lot about it, but I don't see anyone actually fighting it. And until I see it with my eyes and hear it with my ears and put the two together, then I have to suspect that everything is a psyop and we should question everything, no?
I don't think they're fighting evil. They're denying that it's even here. they're trying to tell us that it doesn't exist, that we're all, you know, making this up. I used to be dismissive of the dark side of stuff. I used to think that it was a bit kind of hokey, I don't know, magic, you know, but I didn't have any respect for it. I thought it was something else. And the more I've read about these guys and going back to, you know, I'm talking about like the round table, the people that were involved in that, these people, there's a dark force that is guiding the way they see the world is very, very unhuman. It led me to believe in reading all of this that there is some non-human force that is interacting with them. And I don't know what it is, and I don't know where it comes from, and I don't pretend to understand the intricacies of it. But it appears to me that and I've described this, ironically, I've used this in the past to describe the influence of Israel, but I'm not actually talking about the influence of Israel in this. I'm talking about when people talk about astronomers trying to find black holes, and they say, well, you can't see a black hole, right? It's because it absorbs all the light and you just can't see it. So we don't look for black holes. What we do is we look for heavenly bodies that are behaving unnaturally.
Right.
And if we see something that is acting differently than it should be acting, it's normally still, but it's getting pulled, then we can determine that there's an unseen force that's acting upon this. And so when I look at the behavior of some of these leading men, I'll use that in vague terms, these industrialists, the dark masters of the world. When I look at their behavior, it reminds me of that black hole, that I can't see what is doing it, but there's got to be an unseen force that is acting upon these people to make them do or say the things that they do, because it's very unhuman. Am I out of my mind on this, or what?
No, it's very anti-human. Yeah, that's actually the commanding force, is that we're superior and all these other beings that are on this planet should be our slaves. And the Epstein, it's just interesting that Epstein just used the word goy and goyim so carelessly in Gmails. I'm very suspect of that. I think he was probably a little more clever than that, but I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'm giving. He also couldn't spell Bitcoin. Right, so BIT space.
He couldn't spell much of anything.
Yeah, he couldn't spell
kind of a dumb
Palantir.
fuck, for being honest.
He's completely retarded, but somehow he ran the world, right? So he's the mastermind, but he can't spell anything, and he's dealing with.
I should have got a Grammarly account.
He probably invested in Grammarly.
He probably did. He probably invented it. Yeah.
Yeah, he made it to make the goy dumber.
It's probably truthfully, one of the Maxwell sisters, because it was their
the textbooks.
With textbooks, and also their technology in Silicon Valley that they were financing that was pretty early on. So yeah, there's always.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to understand, like first of all, I don't claim to understand these people at all. I do claim to understand God as best I can. I'm a novice. I'm certainly not a theologian, nor am I an apostle. I'm just a normal guy who continues to read and pray as often as possible. It's all I can do. And when you understand that people who truly love God are willing to lay their life down for him, in defense of him, which is what you're called to do, you have to assume that the polar opposite is equal, if not more, and heavily violent, right? So those who believe in the darkness, who are continuing to, like, think of society, right? Like, we're quote unquote a Christian nation founded by Freemasons and deists, by the way. So all of our founders were Freemasons and deists.
Yeah,
and
there's that.
Yeah, there's that little hokey, psyop that I believed for most of my life till I spent time. But if we look at it from that perspective, and we say we're this nation, we're also we're the abortion leader in the world. Like, we have literally endorsed child sacrifice to Moloch since the 1960s, and have slaughtered tens of millions of innocent lives in defense of sin. So we have become this twisted society, like The Sopranos, a great show. Love The Sopranos. Just rewatched it, by the way. Like The Sopranos, these open up the door. You're rooting for the bad guy. Okay, you're rooting for the adulterer, the murderer, the horrible father. You're rooting for him to make it. Like, this is how things have twisted psychologically over the past 100 years. And when you have a society like that, if we're that bad, where we have people who normal people, they work in your office, they bring you coffee, they do your taxes, they are in support of literally child sacrifice, and they're watching shows rooting for the bad guy. If that's become our norm, imagine how bad the actual true believers in the darkness that worship the darkness are. Far worse. We have innocent sin. There's no innocent sin, but we have an innocent sin environment where they're the ones who are propagating it. Like, there's no doubt about that, Charlie. There's no doubt that we are socially programmed through content, the internet, movies, TV. I had a guy years ago when I had a social media company in San Diego, a guy who was on Mad TV, came to me and he goes, I want to use your guys' social media marketing company to promote my book. I go, what's your book about? It's about zombies. I go, nobody's ever going to pay attention to a zombie book. Like I'm sorry. Like I'll take your money, but it's not going to work. And he's like, well, in Hollywood, the next 20 years is slated to be nothing but zombie movies. This was like in 2007. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, the next 20 years are mapped out. I'm like, I didn't think about it back then, but I always think back to that meeting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, every movie has been dystopian and zombie. They're programming you for that future. They're programming you for it. It's just nuts.
My buddy was the screenwriter of World War Z.
Wow. So he knows.
I went to college with him. He went to work for a think tank after college.
And he ended up making a zombie movie after being at a think tank.
To be fair, he was if somebody else's story, he was rewriting it. But he has written other movies, the political movies. He wrote The Kingdom. Yeah. Saudi Arabia, where with all that stuff too. Yeah, so I've watched how that has the relationship through Hollywood has been a real factor. You know what's something interesting that I found out? I had a guy who I live in outside of Denver. I had somebody reach out to me who's also from Denver, and they said, "Hey, did you know about the satanic network?" Well, yeah, I know about the airport. Did you know about the satanic network that runs through all the business community in Denver? And do you know what to look for with the houses? I was like, I'm not familiar with any of this. So he started sending me pictures of the houses. And he was saying, look at this architecture. Look at this thing, the doorknob here, the way these windows are set up here. You'll never see Halloween decorations in front of their house. He's like, it'll be really normal, but you'll never see Halloween stuff. He's like, it's kind of backwards from what you would think. And he says, and then this guy who's a prominent lawyer who advertises like crazy on TV all the time. He's like, yeah, that guy's a Satanist. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So like, there's a network that if you're not in the know, you just kind of go about your day like in the Matrix and don't notice the woman in the red dress. But if you are in that group, they appear out of nowhere, right? That network appears before you, and next thing you know, I didn't know when this guy told me, I didn't know if I was thinking, boy, if I ever get myself into trouble here in Denver, do I actually want the Satanist lawyer? You know what I mean? Like if I'm trying to get out, like because maybe it's the Satanist judge who's going to be working with and do some deal. You know what I mean? Like that was a reminder to me that there is a very public facing network that appears normal, that in the shadows is something else.
It's called the Synagogue of Satan. Which I think that most people attribute because of the word synagogue. Actually, the word synagogue is interesting. So after the prominent or intelligent Jews were taken to Babylon, the temple was destroyed. So they no longer had a temple. So they recreated synagogues, which weren't about sacrifice and forgiveness. They were about learning, right? They were about knowledge. And that started in Babylon. Synagogue is actually a Babylonian term. That's where synagogues were created. There was no term for Christian or Muslim because there were no Christians or Muslims at the time of the Bible. So the Synagogue of Satan is a representation of those who appear to be holy or good in public, but are serving the darkness behind closed doors.
Well, that would explain it then. And and that doesn't necessarily mean Jewish, right? That of origins, right?
Certainly doesn't exclude it, though.
No, of course not. No. I mean, but it's not limited.
It's bigger than that. Yeah, it's bigger than that. It's Mormon, it's Catholic, it's Christian, it's Zionist. It's anyone proclaiming. The good. We're watching it, right? Like how many people. Like there's some alleged email that was in the Epstein file that Robin Leach ate a kid or something. Well, Robin Leach was like the most respected guy in the world because he knew all the rich people and he was classy and fancy. They're all part of the same club. And I think that the more that we try to, he's not in the club. Like prime example to look at, just pure discernment. Thomas Massey. Mm-hmm. Love Thomas Massey. Like absolutely love him in his role as the actor in this movie. He is my favorite hero in the script. But it certainly is a script because he doesn't take money from AIPAC. Well, he takes money from a group called the Growth Club or something out of New York, which is by a guy named Stephen Yass, who is a massive dual Israeli Zionist.
Have you talked to Seven Seas? You need to talk to Seven Seas about this.
Yeah. It's like they're all in it. It's just a masquerade. And they know that we're going to find things out. They're actually leaking things to us because the more you look here, the more they plan there. And it's a constant game of cat and mouse if you're trying to figure it out, which is why I just turn to God and make things simple to me.
Well, for sure. This is theater, and you got to be careful when you find the character that you like, because that's the okie doke, right? Like I like Thomas Massey as well.
How can you not, right? Like that.
How can
he's
you
a
not?
perfect character.
For sure. And they may have killed his wife too, right? And so
he may have sacrificed her, or she may have just died the way that we were told. We don't know.
Yeah, nobody knows. And that's ultimately what it is. We really don't know. We think we know. We think he's a good guy. We want him to be a good guy. We need a good guy. But what do they say? When a hero is needed, we will provide one. So that could be exactly what the plan is. And so as far as, and I'm with you, man, we are sitting in the cave watching shadow puppets, and like, it's hard to know what exactly is true here. So
you're safer just assuming everything is a lie.
Yeah, you probably are. And people will call that black pilled, and I could understand that, but maybe just reality pilled is what it is. It's just, it's tough. You got to get your bearings, man. You need to know how to, I always think about this as like a business, right? A business needs to set a 5-year plan. What are we going to do? We're going to increase our marketing and maybe expand. Well, what am I going to do as a person? Right. What's my 5-year plan? It's hard to know when things feel so unstable, when you don't know whether the bank that you bank with will be here tomorrow, right? Or that the technology that you use will be, you'll still be able to use it or whatever. I mean, there's just, everything feels very much written in pencil, and that's not a good thing when you're trying to plan your future. It makes me a bit, I don't know, I'd say uncertain about the future. I'd like to say I'm optimistic because I suppose anything is possible, but it's a very unusual time to be paying attention.
Well, I think if you've been to a restaurant or gotten an oil change or bought new tires or anything in the last 2 years, I think you get a general sentiment that people don't care, right? Like service is terrible, food is sloppy. You get this general consensus that is so obvious and out front that it tells you what's happening right now is far beyond politics. But let's discuss the black pill. So the first 2 pills that you're given as an option as the socially engineered society that we live in are red and blue, right? You can take the red pill or the blue pill. That was very specific. That is Democrat or Republican. The black pill simply means I'm not buying into either one of you parties anymore. And I guess to a certain extent, I've always been that way. I'm very much a radical independent centrist. I actually don't care if you're a Democrat. If you have a good policy and you actually will implement it, I'll vote for you. And I think most people are actually like that, but you don't hear their voices as much. So the black pill idea is nothing more than the term doomer or conspiracy theorist or any of these words that take somebody who's thinking probably 2 steps ahead of you a little more critically, that is looking at things objectively from an educational standpoint, trying to help you. I like people who are pilled, like orange pill, white pill. We have all these pills, right? Who sponsored this thing here, Charlie? Is it the pharmaceutical companies?
Pfizer. Unfortunately, the orange pill, the red pill, the blue pill, the black pill, the gray pill, they're all brought to you by Pfizer. My favorite, though, is Legal Man on Twitter, Lee Goldman, otherwise aka Mr. Jones from Jones Plantation. He says he's cyanide pilled. He's done with it all.
I don't take pills. So like for me, I just look at things for what they are. I think the pharmaceutical industry is definitely behind the pilling, the multiple colored pills. And in reality, you should probably take them all. Like make a drug cocktail, swirl them around and see what comes out when you puke. That's probably your best bet. Like a little black pill is good for you. A little red pill, like a little hopium pill, is good for you. The hopium's not a bad thing. Like you certainly need to cling on to it. I cling on to it through the Bible. I don't cling on to it through men because they have all proven to be deceitful. Even if they do the right thing in the end and they had to lie to get there, I still don't approve of it. I'm sorry. So, it's a different thing. But, Charlie, one topic I wanted to talk to you about is where this technocracy is going. Yeah. And how they're going to sell it to us and how they are selling it to us. And we're recording this, so hopefully your editors will be able to put up what I'm talking about here because it's just hilarious to me, Charlie. Like the things that are happening are hilarious. So it's clear that we're heading into a technocracy. I'm going to call it a technocratic monarchy because there will be kings of different versions of AI, different sectors will have their king. This is just the way the world works. This has been the intended result since the papacy lost its power in the Protestant Reformation. Like the papacy ruled the world through all the monarchs of the world because they all had to submit their power to the Pope. And then the Protestant Reformation, the printing press, the first like awakening happened. And then you had this whole confused, now you have Protestantism is completely dead. Christianity may be the Antichrist, the institutionalized system may be the Antichrist. You could point out any fixed religion and find where it has biblical mishaps or intentional misleadings. And now you have this world where you have the French Revolution, which is clearly powered by the Jesuits of the Catholic Church through Napoleon, the Jacobins, who wore red hats, by the way, looked like Smurf hats that gave homage to Mithra, the sun god of Rome. And Rome has always been in power. The Roman Empire has never ended. I'm not going to, if you want me to get into the papal, stuff. By the way, it's interesting that in one of the Epstein emails, one of his interns said, well, Jeffrey wants the column to look just like this other column from the time where he lived at the Vatican. That seemed to have gotten overlooked somewhere. I mean, the Pope is mentioned like 50 times in these Epstein files. It's just fascinating to watch this. So in the middle of this, you have this two-party system, right? And that's what we know because we've been alive during it. But most of human history has been ruled by monarchs, almost exclusively through monarchies. And that system works well until it doesn't, right? So when people start translating the Bible from Latin to English and they start realizing, I don't need to go to this Pope. I can praise God on my own. That's a revolution. When the monarchs start realizing they're using confessional booths to socially engineer and blackmail the monarchs into power, they started to revolt. So they said, hey, let's just revolt it all. Now we'll control society. The demonic entities of the world will use religion to control society through this whole other thing called two-party system and democracy. And then they have, of course, you have America, founded by deists and Freemasons. Definitely a Freemasonic experience. We are living through Masonic theater. 100%. And there's, I love the people like Hitler took down the Masons. He probably was a Mason. He worked directly with the Pope. There's a book called Hitler's Pope. He modeled the SS soldiers after the Jesuits. That was his intention, but he arrested Jesuits, right? You see how this works? Like, I'm going to arrest people so you don't think I'm like that, but I'm going to design my entire team just the same way. And then you have, World War II, and the German intelligence officers created the Mossad. So tell me why these Germans who hated the Jews created Mossad in 1949 after Israel was created. It's all a big lie. The reality is right now, a technocracy is coming. And in order to get it accepted by society, you have to do a couple of things. First of all, you have to destabilize and demoralize. That's a campaign Yuri talked about years ago, which is clearly happening. I think the Epstein part is part of the destabilization. It's a perfect psyop.
Certainly
should know this. No, I mean, look at it. Like, so many people right now aren't paying attention to their lives. They're paying attention to darkness. Philippians 4:8 says, "Pay attention to what is good, what is true, what is beautiful, what is admirable." Are we doing that? No, that's like a Luciferian spell. We're just cast into complete darkness. So they're exposing the darkness, the darkness, the darkness. The technocracy is being built. And in this darkness, you now have it's the Jews who yes, are in almost every position of power on planet Earth. But how did they get there? So there's certainly a puppet master behind the strings that elevated them to this point in time, so that at some point in time, the darkness becomes so dark. You become such an abused spouse that when a pretty girl walks by and she winks at you, you fall in love. A false light is coming. A false light from the darkness is what always comes. It always comes and leads us further from our purpose in life. So through this technocracy, they're going to have to build, and they're already doing it, they're building in certain things that I find are very interesting from a Christian perspective. We are hearing the term Christian nationalist quite often. Christian nationalist. Show me in the Bible where we're supposed to be involved in politics. Like, I can't find it. It has nothing to do with governments or politics. In fact, the Geneva Bible behind me says that we battle against worldly governors. It doesn't say to become a worldly governor. It says we battle not against flesh and bone, but against powers and principalities, worldly governors who do evil in high places. It has been pre-written in the Geneva Bible. So you have to build this Christian nationalist movement. Charlie Kirk's assassination is an exact pinpoint, lynch point for the youth to become angry and blame it on the Jews. And we have to have crusades again, Charlie. We got to have crusades. Got to get rid of the dirty Muslims. Got to get rid of the Jews. We got to get rid of them all. We got to kill them all in the name of God, in Jesus' name. We have to kill. Where does it say that in the Bible?
No, they'll
Nowhere.
write it in there somewhere. They'll find it. They'll find it. They'll put it. They'll add it in there in post production. Don't worry about that.
They'll mix it. They'll cherry pick some verses, I'm sure. And they are currently doing it. And now you need figureheads, and this is where you enter into like, maybe we'll keep an update. I'll have you on my show. We'll do like every month or every other month just to watch this trend. I don't know. Like again, we said in the beginning, we don't know what's going on. All we are is pattern recognizers. That's all we can do. So now you have Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj appears on stage at Turning Point USA. Nicki Minaj, let me remind you, is absolutely a harlot spirit, the spirit of Jezebel, teaching young girls to be whores for, I don't know, the better part of a decade and a half. She's here illegally. She's been an illegal immigrant until she paid $1 million to Donald Trump for his gold card to become a citizen, which hasn't been finalized yet. So she's an illegal immigrant from a foreign island. She actually has literally been a marketing arm for young girls to become prostitutes. That is fact. Her husband is currently convicted, awaiting trial for sex crimes against children. Her brother had raped an 11-year-old and is currently serving a 25-year sentence in prison. Those are known facts. She also has confessed in a video, in an interview, that there is a demon inside of her, unironically named Roman, who has her do bad things, right? So that's a fact. So the other day, I got to pull this. I'm going to send this to you so you can put it on this podcast so people can see it. So the other day, this is just how the world's working right now, Charlie. So Nicki Minaj posts, your favorite artist has been practicing rituals in a satanic cult where they take babies from other countries, not your own, but other countries, and mutilate and kill them as a form of blood sacrifice to their God, spelled with a capital G, okay? The God of heaven, Jesus Christ, is a capital G. Demons are lowercase g, but she put a large G. Little nitpicky Christian thing, I guess. You see, when your master is Satan, you must constantly shed blood. However, the jig is up. Okay, so it comes with, you can see this in the camera, it comes with a picture of Chucky drinking a martini, okay? So let's break this down here, shall we?
Please.
First of all, she says, your favorite artist. Well, if I'm on Nicki Minaj's page and I'm a fan, she may very well be my favorite artist, right? And she's telling you about all this stuff. And now she's going to break Hollywood because Jay-Z's been repressing her for so long, right? She's kept her from citizenship, stole all of her money. But these are obviously psyops. But let's break down the picture. Chucky. Chucky is a doll possessed by a spirit. Okay, in the movie Child's Play, there is a serial killer, and I don't believe that human beings become serial killers unless they're possessed by a demon. So there's a demon in a guy who is about to be caught by the police, who exorcises through voodoo his own soul into a play doll. Then a little kid gets it and it starts killing everybody. Okay, so the image that she gives of her godliness, because by the way, she said God is protecting Donald Trump and, protect the Christians in Nigeria. Now she's like the leader of the Christian conservative movement in days. So this comes out, this image, Chucky, possessed by a doll possessed by a demon drinking a martini. What is a martini commonly called, Charlie? Is that what you would call spirits? Mm-hmm. So a person who's talking about child sacrifice and Satanism, who, like, listen, first of all, let me say this for the people who are like, who haven't read Bereans or don't know that we should be testing the spirits of believers, because we absolutely should be. Who just, Jesus can save it. She's not Saul of Tarsus, guys. Like, Jesus didn't intervene in her life. That I can guarantee. However, I don't deny the fact that Jesus Christ can redeem awful sinners of the horrible things they've done. But you can't be in the two camps of understanding everyone in the music industry is demonic and they've sold their soul to Satan. And then all of a sudden, God reclaimed their soul and now they're a perfect Christian and conservative and we love Nicki Minaj. Because the very next day, what came out was a video of her and Scott Bessent back to back while she's rapping, dropping cuss words from the White House. Okay. This is a Jezebel and a sodomite in the middle of Rome. Okay. Washington, D.C. was built on a piece of land that used to be called Rome, literally Rome. Go to D.C. It is literally Roman architecture all over the place. There's a demon named Roman. Place.
It is all Roman architecture. The entire place is a real trip. If you're somebody that knows, that has an understanding of Freemasonry and Roman architecture, go to Washington, D.C. for a couple of days and you will flip out.
It is breathtaking to see the influence. And it's also, we have very much, what did Javier Milei say the other day? It's time that we go back to following Greek philosophy, Roman laws, and Christian values. He's a Jew, by the way.
That's interesting.
He may very well be related to Benjamin Netanyahu. Donald Trump has said that we have been aligned with Rome for more than 1,000 years. He's not lying. Everyone thinks he's crazy with senile. He's not lying. And then you can look at the other things, like on New Year's Eve, the White House dropped a video. This is us this year, a picture from Gladiator, like what you do now echoes in eternity, Rome. Dan Bongino, the complete clown show that Dan Bongino is. What do they call him now? Dan Vagino? Is that what they're calling him? But he's coming after the grifters. Go for grifters all you want, but just don't be a grifter while you do it. That would probably be preferable. But in the middle of this, he put a video of himself. Are you not entertained? Rome. Like the image, all roads lead to Rome. So where am I going with this, Charlie? And it's not just me. This isn't there are many people like me. There are many more people coming to see, look at biblical prophecy overlaid with history that realize America is the second beast arising from the land to give image back to the first. The first was clearly the papacy. That is why the Protestant reformers were burned at the stake. Not for translating the Bible, but for accurately identifying the man of sin and the beast of Revelation, in my opinion. So how do we get to a technocracy? We have to create crusades, Charlie. Everything has to be for God. We've got to force feed the Bible to children who may or may not want it. I don't remember where it says force feed faith. I don't remember where it says convert at the end of a sword. I certainly don't remember where it said convert at the end of a M16 or an AR-15. But that's what we got to do, Charlie, because we got to be warriors for Christ. We got to go draw blood because Jesus wanted us to kill everybody, not convert them, not be kind to them and love them, but to kill them.
That must have been in the sequel. I didn't catch that one.
It is. It's part 2. It's the third
Part 2,
Testament.
Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, that was that was one I didn't get. That was Blockbuster didn't have it that time.
So you see where this is going, Charlie, when we have Nicki Minaj, who literally conservatives, especially the truthers were like, Nicki Minaj is the devil. She sold her soul to Satan. I don't know how you get it back. I'm pretty sure you don't. That's ultimate disobedience to God. I'm pretty sure once you do that, you're just out the door, guys. So they years ago saying she can, but go to that tweet, go to Nicki Minaj's page, read that tweet, and then look at the comments. There are some people who get it. There are some people who don't. There are some people who condemn people like me. Oh, you don't know. No, I know. I know that we're supposed to test the spirits, that the fruits are how you judge someone, not the words that they say. That I know. On the flip side, look at the video of her and Scott Bessent rapping and dropping cuss words in the White House. This is our White House, right? In Rome, a sodomite and a Jezebel. Look at the comment. Oh my God, this is so funny. They're so cute. I just love Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is going to out the whole music. Even the truthers who are saying this, you can see them trying not to laugh when she's going to break it all. She's going to break the whole story and bring down the music industry. The music industry is already being rebuilt. Look at the halftime show that Turning Point USA is creating. It's the same people. They're putting on a different mask and they're using a different genre. I'm a big worship fan music. I love them. However, some of these worship songs out there are actually complete blasphemy of Scripture. So if you don't know that, you're going to get caught into a false light. Biblical discernment will be more important than understanding, how corrupt a politician is moving forward, because everyone will be led into institutional religion where you're going to get your doctrine from a pulpit and not from the Word of God in prayer. Mark my words on that.
We had this conversation a couple weeks ago on our Union of the Unwanted show. We were talking about the rise of technocracy and this new artificial intelligence era that we're coming into, and talking about that we should be on the lookout and be fearful of a new technological priest class that is tasked with writing the codes and writing the prompts to make the machine do it. You can't talk to the machine. That's too complicated. You have to talk to me, and I'll talk to the machine for you. Mm-hmm. You see, so once you put an intermediary in between these two, the person and the AI, and somebody has to kind of do that. I could see how that could open us up to some problems.
Well, yeah, it kind of sounds like where the Bible says that I should go directly to Jesus for forgiveness of sins, but that's not good enough. I need to go to a confession booth to a priest to tell him to get my forgiveness of sin, right? It sounds very similar. Now, you're also going to have this embedment. This is why I say that Rome will control the world again, because with the rise of AI and the great delusion that'll be cast upon the world, make no mistake, that's already happening and it will continue to happen. A moral authority will rise from the ashes. There's a specific reason that over the last 8 years, the heads of all, almost not, I won't say all. When you say all, you're always wrong, by the way. Of many AI companies have visited the Vatican. Why are Protestant preachers and megachurch leaders going to Rome to meet the Pope? These are literally supposed to be mortal enemies, okay? Maybe hundreds of millions or maybe 100 million Christians died in that movement over that time. But now they're meeting. The word is called ecumenism, that they are going to try to blend together first all forms of Christianity. We have all this divisiveness. I mean, you can see it in Vatican news and Protestant preachers, and there is divisiveness because there is the word of God and then there is the interpretation of a church leader. And those aren't always the same. And it's okay to disagree on interpretations of the Bible. I'm not saying I have it right. I'm just looking at history and all the different versions of my own interpretation. But Charlie, what they're doing is building ecumenism, where we're all the same. But you know what? We're too stupid because we're dumb. We're human beings. We need a moral authority. Who will be the moral authority? Well, it's kind of interesting because when we went into the Industrial Revolution, we had Pope Leo, I think the 12th. He was the Pope. Pope Leo, 12th. He was the Pope. Industrial Revolution. Now we're going into the technological AI revolution. We have another Pope Leo, the 13th, who happens to be American, the first American Pope. So can you kind of see where this is leading? Like you have this technological... It's a takeover. Like there are no guardrails on AI. There is no revolution here.
I never thought. I'll be honest, man. I never put Silicon Valley and the Vatican together.
You don't have to. It's like you can research it for yourself. You can see Elon Musk. Why is Elon Musk meeting with the Pope? Why are the heads of AI companies meeting with the Pope? Why did the Vatican have? They've had like 7 or 8 different councils created about the moral positioning of AI. Why does the Vatican even care about it?
Man, I get a bad feeling. These are the wrong people to be influencing. With like the Peter Thiel's, Alex Karp's, Harari.
Peter Thiel's Catholic. Alex Karp is Jewish. Remember this saying for the rest of your life. When Pontius Pilate asked the Pharisees, "Is this not your king?" What did they say? "We have no king but Caesar." I believe these two have been because it's the perfect antichrist, right? You have like the word antichristo. There's plenty of great podcasters that do. I just interview people. I don't talk. I'm doing a deep dive with you. I'm rarely a guest anymore because people think I'm a lunatic. But the word antichristo in Greek, which is the original translation of the Bible, has dual meanings. It means one who wars with Christ and one who replaces Christ. Mm. So you have one who wars with Christ. That's clearly Jews, right? They're very anti-Christ. That is by definition. It's not even anti-Semitic, which, by the way, they're not Semites. They're European. Semites are Middle Eastern. So in that statement alone, a Jew, by definition, is anti-Christ. A Christian is pro-Christ, right? We have... are you pro-vax, anti-vax? Well, if you're pro-Christ or anti-Christ, that's Jew and Christian. Right. But then you have another form. You have Catholicism, who Catholics now, the apologists will say this doesn't exist and it's a conspiracy theory. Dig into Vatican documents. They never removed it. The vicar of Christ, or vicarius Christi, was the term used for the Pope, which literally means in place of Christ in Latin. So you literally have two parties, one that is... you have Christians who are pro-Christ who've been slaughtered more than Jews, more than Muslims, more than anyone. True biblical Christians have been slaughtered. In fact, the slaughtering of the Bolsheviks, of the Christians in Russia, those were primarily Orthodox. The Orthodox Church broke away from Rome. They broke away, and Russia was almost completely Orthodox. So how did a small group of Jews conquer all of Russia and they just killed all the Orthodox? Well, they were at war with the Vatican. Like, they didn't want to be Catholic. They didn't want to worship the Pope. Like, if you don't understand like this biblical history of the wars that have occurred, this period in time will be very nebulous to you. It'll just be like, oh, it's Trump and it's Biden. And that's what they want you to see. But I think that the war that we're in right now is very much deeper than that. And I think it goes into faith and history and God and the devil and these different versions. Because if you look at the history of all the 60 million white Christians who were slaughtered at the hands of Bolsheviks, who were 65% Jews, look at the other 35%. Who are they? Do your research. But they killed mostly Orthodox. Now, Orthodoxy is really just Catholic light. Lutheran is just Catholic light. At the end of the day, the only true practicing biblical Christian is very rare. Like, it's a very rare thing to be scripturally correct. And you have sola scriptura people, and there's a psyop against them. And there's first of all, if you're listening to this, you're Catholic, I love you. I think you're great people. I'm not talking about Catholic people, people of the Catholic faith. I'm talking about the nebulous nature of the actual papacy and the nefarious intentions of the Vatican, who, by the way, is the most wealthy organization that has ever existed on planet Earth. Rothschild works for the Vatican, okay? Rothschild is a Knight of Malta. Yes, he's Jewish, kinda. He's European Jew. He's an Ashkenazi Jew. But at the same time, don't believe me, go to the Encyclopedia Judaica, the Jewish encyclopedia. It will show you in like 1894, 1898, he was appointed the guardian of the papal treasure. That is just a fact. So it goes deeper than this.
I couldn't even imagine what's going on. There's so much of our history that is occulted, and yet there is so much of our history that is widely available, and yet
no one sees it.
Undiscovered by the masses that have simply no interest in this. But we do. And I think it's our duty and obligation to talk about these things as we see them. You're not crazy. I'm glad you're on. I'm glad you came on the show to talk about this. We see the same things.
Here's an exact example. So I have so there's a room, I think it's called I want to say it's Paul the 14th or Paul the 4th, maybe Paul the 4th audience chamber, I think is the actual official name at the Vatican. You can Google it and look it up, and you can Google the other term that's used for it, which is called the serpent room at the Vatican. Okay, there was actually a demonic god named Vatica, previous to the Vatican being created. Vatican. Not this, again, Catholic people, you love Jesus. We're all good here. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the deception that is occurring potentially. This is just a conspiracy theory. I'm just being a conspiracy theorist here, Charlie.
I know.
And look at this room. It literally has architecture with two fangs and serpent eyes, where the Pope sits in front of what they call, this is the rise of Jesus after a nuclear war. Okay, prove to me nuclear bombs are real, because I can show you evidence that they're not, that they're just big bombs. Like if nuclear bombs were actually what we say they are, there would be nobody living in Chernobyl or Nagasaki or Hiroshima, because it's not 1,000 years later from nuclear decay, right?
So you have to question doing okay. I think Trump is building a Trump Tower next to the power plant, maybe.
Yeah, 100%, right? And in Gaza too, right? We just supported half of the country just supported a genocide of people so that luxury vacation rentals can be available, while the other people live in what they already call a technocracy. They're not even hiding it. They're saying we're building a technocracy. So, this Vatican room, when I show it to a Catholic, they're like, that's probably just a conspiracy theory. I'm like, well, here's the room and here's the picture. Well, that's not, the Pope that's just when Jesus rises after nuclear war. Well, where does it say nuclear war in the Bible? No, that's actually the rise of the Antichrist. And Antichrist means two things: one who openly wars against Christ, and one who attempts to replace him. And people don't look at Greek translation. So do we have currently a open Antichrist that we are trying to wage war against? Because that's what Christians are. We got to fight these dirty Jews, and what happens after that, right? Like, how does the devil play his game? It's a psyop, right? It's a false flag. So you're going to war against the Jews. The Jews will definitely, you're going to see a ton of Jewish people become Catholic or Christian of some sort. They're building mega churches in India. They're building mega Catholic churches in India and Russia. These are already happening. You have the Abraham house that's being built. Oh, it's a place where we can be ecumenical. Muslims, they worship the same God as us. Well, they do worship the same God as Catholics. If you look at page like 83 of the Catechism, it says Muslims and Catholics worship the same God. It doesn't say Muslims and Christians. It says Muslims and Catholics in their own catechism, their own propaganda from birth. So, there is this ecumenical, Jews, Muslims, Christians, come to the Abraham house. We're all going to be together. We're all worshiping the same God. We've been fighting these wars forever about nonsense. Personally, I'm just going to reflect back and make my stance very well known on your show, Charlie. John Smith was approached by an angel of light to create Mormonism. Muhammad was approached by supposedly Gabriel, an angel of light in a cave. Loyola was who created the Jesuit order, was approached by an angel of light in a cave. I'm just going to remind you that in the Bible, it says that Satan masquerades as an angel of light. These are just things that are unavoidable. So, I don't like, and I'm not like, if you're one of these religions, it's not you that I'm talking to you about. I'm just telling you what my perspective is and what God's word says. That's all. You see how this is all being intertwined, Charlie? You see how it's being wrapped up?
And it's extremely useful to divide people and to conquer and to get people into smaller groups. It really has been quite a trick that they've been able to get people to fight with one another. It's funny when you get yourself into a situation where you're at the end of, where you're out of time. I had this with my mom almost 2 years ago, where she got sick and we knew we were at the end. It's funny how your perspective changes on what really matters and what doesn't matter once you get down to the final time, and all this fighting, what you believe in, what you don't believe in, what that guy believes in. They didn't like my guy. It all kind of got put in a different perspective for me in that situation. Her world got very, very small, and the things that mattered started fading away, and ultimately in the end it was, how are you? Or were you a good person? Did you leave the world a better place? Did people talk about you in a positive way after you were gone? Did you, people have good memories of you? That to me was, we're not religious people. I didn't grow up in a religious, that to me was, that was a form of heaven. I knew she had, just was very loved and had a great reputation. Nobody had any anxiety. I thought, boy, we should aspire to go out, clean slate. Nobody has problems with her. She didn't have problems with anybody else. It was a very, very neutral exit. And I've started to watch people in the last couple of years really freak out about things that don't matter. When you get honest about it, it really doesn't matter.
Does any of this stuff matter?
We're all guilty of it. Does any of this stuff matter? Exactly. It's the real question. And in a big shifting of priorities, once people get honest with it, and I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the religious, the knowledge that you have. I'm appreciative when I can have someone come on and talk about this stuff, because it's a blind spot for me. It's not something I have a ton of knowledge about. But I know that you do, and I'm really glad you came on. I'm really glad we got a chance to talk about this. We're going to have to continue the conversation, because it's just this is an ongoing. We're going to leave this with ... to be continued, because this is something that we're going to check back in on as time unfolds, and see how things play out. I'm
just remember this.
Yeah.
Belief in God is understanding a couple of things. Number one, God can use the most unlikely sinner to judge evil. Okay? The most unlikely sinner can be chosen by God to judge evil and condemn evil and make away with it. But it's important to remember that throughout all of history, God can certainly use people for his will. But more often than not, people use God for their own. And you are seeing that, like Charlie Kirk's memorial, which I watched 15 minutes of because I already understood what it was. Every speaker was a Jew or a Jesuit, every one of them. It was WWE, fantastical, super emotional, but it was a political event. Make no mistake. That was a Christian nationalist rally movement behind the assassination.
I did an episode on it called Fireworks and Facelifts.
Yeah. That's what it was. So why is that happening? Why is that happening? Because the easiest way to fool people with very little biblical discernment, who don't test the fruits, who don't test the spirit, because people get messages from spirits all the time, but there's only one Holy Spirit. A prophet is only a prophet if they're right 100% of the time. Otherwise, they're just a fortune teller. Plenty of fortune tellers are claiming to be prophets from God. The movement, like you can see it in everything. Oh, people found God here. Really? I hope they did. And I'm sure even through this great delusion, this great illusion that will be cast over the world with AI and ecumenism and all these other things, I'm certain that so many people are going to come to God, like truly surrender to God, repent. Like if you're not hearing Christians talking about repent, you're not listening to a Christian. That is the core of the teachings of Jesus, is repentance. So without the word repentance, you're not actually listening to a Christian. You're listening to a fortune teller, or you're listening to a false prophet. And we were warned, Matthew 24, not millions, but tons of scripture actually points to a time like this of great confusion with a false golden age that brings on great desolation, that many false signs and wonders will appear. Boy, AI is going to be great for false signs and wonders. Somehow, miraculously, somebody for 1,100 years just happened to keep the Shroud of Turin that was on Jesus's face, and we can totally prove it. Now AI has a picture. Oh, that's the face of Jesus. We have no idea what Jesus looks like. There's no definition of a physical description of Jesus anywhere in the writings of the Bible, the early church fathers, or Josephus. None of them have a description of what he looked like physically, period. Yeah. So false signs and wonders, false converts, false leaders, just be wary. And I hope that this show just puts it on people's radar that the easiest way to trick people into following bad ideas is to say that it was inspired by God. You will know if it's inspired by God if the fruits match the actual scripture. So understand, and there's already a huge movement of churches being flooded. Peter Thiel, who clearly is a Vatican agent, clearly very Catholic, he was doing his thing on the Antichrist that he didn't finish, ironically. Pouring sweat from drug use, or he's a sodomite, by the way. He's totally gay, and somehow he's a Catholic representative, a gay guy.
Yeah, it's all right. He's got a lot of money, so it's fine.
Yeah, totally. So, but you're going to see this movement of like everything is biblical, and it is. Everything's always been biblical. The problem is it truly biblical? Is it actual scripture? Because this whole Third Temple dispensationalist point of view of a Jewish Messiah and sacrificing a red heifer has nothing to do with actual scripture, unless you cherry pick 4 or 5 verses and make up a mystical story, or preterism that Jesus already returned in 70 AD. You can make a case for it, but it's simply not the truth. The truth is, at the end of time, it's the end of time, and then things change. So if that happened, it would have already happened. So Charlie, I just want to put that on everyone's radar that I believe a technocratic monarchy is coming. I believe that we are being shown excessive darkness to usher in a false light. That false light will be the Laodicea, lukewarm church of the 7th church in Revelation, which is where all the historicists will agree with us. And I believe that during that time, many are going to be led to God, and I believe many more are going to be led to a dangerous false light where it's okay to, as long as you have a big platform and a podcast and, politicians have you on stage, that you must be of God. Actually, it says in the Bible, if you are of God, the world will hate you. So pay attention to the little guys out there who are telling the truth that have no audience because they're actually telling the truth.
Yeah. That explains where my audience went. Hey, Eric, what's the best place for people to find you?
You can find me at The Rice Report on YouTube and Rumble. I don't know how much longer I'll be on YouTube. It's a clown show platform. But just call it what it is. But you can also find me on X, which is where I spend most of my time, EA_Rice. I'm going to be getting into a bunch of series. I just did a 5-hour breakdown of this historical. And again, I don't know what's happening in the world. I'm just telling you, here's a bunch of conspiracy theories, and I kind of believe in this right here, but I don't know. So you can find me on X, EA_Rice. It's about all you can find me at because I really hate social media, and unless I'm hanging out with cool people like you, I generally don't like being in front of a camera either. So
that's Eric Rice, everybody. Go check out his work. Go support him where you can. Go follow him on social media, even though he won't follow you back because he doesn't want to participate in social media.
I always do.
No, I know. You follow me back, but we need to get ourselves off of social media. I don't think it's good for our souls. It certainly feels like a trap. Hey, and if you want to connect with me, it's pretty easy to do. You can go to macroaggressions.io and find everything that I'm working on, or activistpost.com. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.